Imagine a dinosaur with the face like a crocodile, teeth built for snaring slippery prey, and a snout so highly engineered it could pick up the faintest touch underwater. Today, we're deep diving into the brand new 2026 paper that sent shockwaves through the paleontology community, leaving fans of a certain African Spinosaurus asking, is Suchomimus a lie? Let's discuss the scandal and dive deeper and uncover what is really going on. Hey guys, welcome back to the Prehistoric Life Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Crawford, and today we are discussing the new Spinosaur paper that I know everyone is very upset about. We're going to be talking about the Suchomimus. We saw a few Suchomimus when I was on my trip out west. We saw 2 skulls, 1 arm. I think that was it, one in BYU and one in the Thanksgiving Point. But we're going to be talking about the neurovascular system and dental renewal in the rostrum of Spinosaurids. We're going to be talking about this paper. We're going to be talking about what it actually is and the Suchomimus controversy around it. So that's right, everyone. A massive new study was just published in the Journal of Geodiversity by paleontologist Frédéric Pittet. If I mispronounce your name, I'm so sorry. But again, that paper is titled Neurovascular System and Dental Renewal in the Rostrum of Spinosauridae, New Descriptions and Implications of Non-Olfactory Snout Sensitive of Dinosaurs. A mouthful. I know these papers get a little crazy with some of the names. I will put this paper in the description so that if you want to just read it yourself, go for it. While the core of this paper uses high-tech CT scans to map out the brilliant internal biology of Spinosaurus faces, the internet completely exploded over one specific controversial takeaway regarding dinosaur taxonomy. Now, why this paper exploded online? The moment this paper dropped, headlines and forums went wild with claims that Suchomimus tenerensis, the beloved heavy-clawed giant from Niger, is no longer a valid dinosaur because Pittet looked at the incredible internal preservation of premaxilla housed at the MNHN, which is the Museum of Natural History. Something. It's in Paris. It's the Paris. It's what does that stand for? The Natural History Museum. The Natural Museum of Natural History in Paris, France. A little redundant on the name there. He compared the snout geometry to Cristatusaurus, lapparenti, to Suchomimus. So I'm going to just be referring to them by their surnames. That's what I'm going to refer to it as because I don't know what to refer to. Or their, I guess their first names. Suchomimus and Cristatusaurus. I think I've been calling it Cristanosaurus with an N. There's no N. Because last names kind of suck in paleontology, other than like T-Rex and Fragilus. So he compared Cristatusaurus to Suchomimus. He noted such striking similarities in the curvature and proportions of the upper jaws that he proposed Suchomimus might actually be a junior synonym to Cristatusaurus. brief explanation of Suchomimus controversy here. Now, if you know your Spinosaurus history, Cristatusaurus was named by Philippe Taquet and Dale Russell in 1998. Just a few months before, Paul Sereno and his team described Suchomimus. For decades, Cristatusaurus has been labeled by many scientists as a nomen dubium, a doubtful name, because its fossils were so fragmentary. But because it was published first, if the two animals are truly the same genus, the law of priority states Cristatusaurus wins out, technically sinking Suchomimus. Boo! Boo! We want Suchomimus. Suchomimus has more aura. It's cooler. So I'm going to actually do a brief summary of Dr. Brian Curtice. I'll throw it at the end. I'll put a little eye up in whatever corner. I don't remember which one. Dr. Brian Curtice, like a tortoise. Dr. Brian Curtice did an episode talking about this. I'm going to do a brief summary, but I do highly recommend checking out his episode because he goes in a lot more detail than I will. But Dr. Brian Curtice observes a lot here. However, before we panic and rewrite our textbooks, we have to look closely at the data. The brilliant Dr. Brian Curtice over at Fossil Crates did a fantastic breakdown pointing out major problems with relying strictly on these published illustrations and digital renders. Dr. Brian Curtice noticed that when you look at original 1998 skeletal outline provided by Paul, Suchomimus is depicted as a massive, robust animal with hefty hind limbs. But in 2022, Sereno released a beautiful color-coded digital asset mapping out the holotype bones. When Dr. Brian Curtice isolated the holotype material and compared the 1998 hand drawing side by side with the 2022 digital images, something was majorly amiss. Scaling both images to the exact same tibia, the modern digital layout suddenly gives the animal a massive, over proportioned humerus, a like Popeye arm. This thing would have had absolutely beefy arms in comparison, which is funny to think about. While the leg bones looked like tiny gracile pencils. So, that doesn't tend to happen. You tend to have very beefy legs and very, in comparison, thinner arms. But with the original drawing and the 2022 overlay of the actual things, you would have the opposite, which is weird. Furthermore, Dr. BC called out a frustrating lack of raw data. There are no published clear photographs of actual Suchomimus holotype skeletal elements available to verify these models. Scientists are forced to work with human-drawn artistic interpretations from 1998 and theoretically derived 3D scans from 2022. And the two data sets simply do not match proportionally. If the 3D scans were subtly arranged or rounded out or missing fragmentary context, it fundamentally changes our understanding of the animal's weight, balance, and posture. If we can't even get a reliable consensus on the physical proportions of the Suchomimus holotype, sinking it based on overlapping snout shapes is incredibly premature. So again, I'll link that video so y'all can get a better in-depth than what I can give you. Dr. Brian Curtice is amazing, and I am also an advocate of keeping Cristatusaurus and Suchomimus apart. This translation into what the paper is actually about. But here's the real kicker. The internet completely missed the forest for the trees. The taxonomic drama about Suchomimus is practically a footnote in Pitet's actual research. The real meat of the study is a groundbreaking exploration into the hidden hypersensitive world inside the bones of these magnificent predators. So let's look at what the CT scans actually revealed, because it really shows me that none of you read this paper, and I mean that with all due respect. None of you read this paper. It's like one paragraph is the Suchomimus and Cristatusaurus. Y'all saw one person say, Suchomimus is gone, and exploded with that and thought that's what this paper is about. It's really not. And even within that, Suchomimus is still a valid genus. We'll get into that. But the CT scans of the Spinosaurus snout, actually, we have, speaking of Dr. Brian Curtice and Fossil Crates, we have our beautiful Spinosaurus here to check that out. So we have that. So I forgot. They have some decent images. Ooh, I'll overlay these images here then. Pittet's team took the beautiful preserved snout fossils of Cristatusaurus and Spinosaurus maroccanus and ran them through an advanced X-ray tomography scanner. This allowed them to peer straight inside the solid bone without damaging the priceless fossils. What they discovered was a pristine three-dimensional look at the dinosaur's internal anatomy, one of the best preserved neurovascular complexes ever found. So we're going to look at these neurovascular canals. When they look at the CT images, actually, do they have, I mean, these are CT images, but, it's a bit laggy. Just click that there. I'll just leave this up for a little bit. It's a bit laggy. When you look at the CT images, you can see two massive parallel main channels running directly along the midline suture of the upper jaw bones in the mature Cristatusaurus specimen. So I think, yeah, this is that. You can kind of see them on both sides. Is there, I think this is it. Yeah, I think this is probably the better one. I think this is probably the better image for that. In the mature Cristatusaurus specimen, these channels are thick, occupying almost the entire width of the snout before sweeping upwards into the front of the muzzle. Known as the rosette, from these main highways, a staggering dense web of smaller secondary branches radiates outward, punching through the bones and open into dozens of tiny holes on the outside of the face called foramina. So you can see that there. You can see those foramina here. You can see all the little bumps here. You can see how they kind of web out. If I'm not mistaken, I think these are similar to what crocodiles have, and I think we'll go over to that. The authors also note a fascinating bowl-shaped neurovascular structure near the back of the premaxilla. This special cluster of branches that actually point backwards towards the external nostrils, making a distinct boundary where facial nerves split to serve different sensory zones. So you can, I think, nothing loads, of course, when I need it. I don't know if this is, you think you can see them there? That's the teeth, and I think that sensory is behind the teeth. I still think this is one of the better images here. That too. These are pretty good images. If you want to see these images better, you can totally pause the video, or you can just go to this paper yourself and look at it. I think I'm going to leave this one up for right now. Y'all can get a better view. The sync boundary where the sensory zone. All right, comparison to crocodilians. This internal network is a dead ringer for what we see in modern crocodilians. Give me a moment. I think this is actually an alligator skull, but alligators are closely related to crocodilians, so it gets the point across. Might be hard to see for this camera, but you see all those little sensors. If you CT scan this, you would probably see something obviously different shaped, but this is an example of convergent evolution with alligators and crocodiles getting the same thing as the Spinosaurus here. If you look at a modern alligator or crocodile, their snout is covered in these tiny dark bumps. You see them right here. I'll do this so you can actually see it a little better. Maybe if it focuses. Maybe if I lean back or put this right in front of my face. I think you get the point, though. These are called intermigantary. A little complicated vocab there. Gotta love our complicated vocab. They're intermigantary sensory organs, or ISOs. These ISOs act as ultra-sensitive pressure receptors because the Spinosaurus internal canal and surface foramina match the layout seen in modern crocs and gharials so perfectly. It proves that the Spinosaurus's maxilla nerve, the V2 branch of the trigeminal nerve, was sending massive amounts of tactile data straight to the brain. Their rosettes were absolutely sensory powerhouses. So again, showing these off, basically dumbing that down for us. You got modern alligators, Spinosaurus. They both have the crazy sensors on the front of their snouts, sending data straight to the brain on all kinds of things of what's around them and things like that. Very beautiful for fish catching too. Why this doesn't necessarily mean electroreception. For years, people have assumed this crocodile-like face meant Spinosaurs were hunting entirely like modern gators. Perhaps even using electroreception to sense the heartbeat of fish in muddy water. But Pittet pushes back on this idea. He points out the highly dense neurovascular snout doesn't automatically mean an animal is aquatic or sensing electricity. In fact, the paper looks at the modern land animals like short-beaked echidna, moles, and even birds like the kiwi and ibis. These animals have highly complex, sensitive neurovascular networks in their snouts and beaks, but they use them purely for intense mechanical touch, to find food buried in the dirt or leaf litter. Instead of purely mapping to an aquatic lifestyle, a hypersensitive face might simply be an evolutionary workaround or a way to compensate for reduced eyesight or restricting olfaction due to highly elongated specialized snout. I think that's a fair comparison, but if I were to say anything just purely on that argument alone, look at the rest of the Spinosaurus, man. Like, you have this giant paddle tail, this giant sail, these teeth that are clearly specialized for piscivorian feeding or fish. Your argument kind of falls apart. it only really stands if you're only looking at the snoot and what is there. But I think that's a completely different argument. They also look at tooth replacement and grow. Now let's talk about the second massive discovery in this paper, the incredible dental convor belt inside these jaws here. I think this is it. I think this is a good look at that. The CT scans expose a bustling factory of teeth hidden deep within the bones. Yeah, I'll toss that up there for y'all. Deep within the bone. In just two small maxilla of juvenile Cristatusaurus, the scanner mapped out a staggering 35 teeth at various stages of development. So what does this mean for feeding biology and ecology? Spine lizards had an extraordinarily rapid tooth replacement rate that started when they were incredibly young. The scans caught multiple generations of teeth stacking inside a single socket. You have the active mature tooth doing the hard work on the outside. Right beneath it, a robust primary replacement tooth is moving into place. And nestled deep in the bone, a tiny third generation replacement tooth is already forming. These things were just tooth factories. It's a little crazy and a little hectic. What's even more mind-blowing is that the CT scan captured the actual process of dental recycling. As a new replacement tooth grew, it would press against the base of the old tooth, literally demineralizing it and absorbing its calcium and minerals to build its own enamel. This allowed Spinosaurus to constantly shed broken teeth and pop new ones into place without wasting vital nutrients. This rapid-fire replacement was essential for an animal targeting enormous, fleshy prehistoric fish and resisting the immense lateral force of struggling prey. What the author concludes here, ultimately, Pittet and the team concluded that Spinosaur's snout was a masterpiece of specialized engineering. They possessed an ultra-sensitive tactical face coupled with a self-sustaining rapid renewal battery of teeth. This allowed them to navigate, forage, and dominate their ecological niches with surgical precision, regardless of whether they were wading deep in the water or hunting along the muddy shorelines. So, yeah, I think that's a lot more interesting than the one paragraph we got, which is the Suchomimus Cristatusaurus just hypothesis there, or debate or theory or whatever you want to call it. But, yeah, they had this massive dental battery, not dental battery in the sense of hadrosaurs and ceratopsians, because their teeth were like connected and stacked up while all being exposed. Theirs, you get like a conveyor belt. It's like, oh, one popped out, next one popped out, next one popped out, next one. You just get layer after layer of teeth that are building on top of each other. They also have the giant snoot. I think it was comparing them to, I just had that list. Echidnas. I'm going to throw all of these on screen. So you have echidnas here. These like really weird specialized snoot. Look like porcupines but aren't porcupines. You have moles. They have very specialized snout. I guess there's two kinds of moles, but I'm talking about these kinds of moles. They have very specialized snoots and receptors in their snoots for being underground. You get kiwis, like the bird. They have very specialized snoots. And ibis, these birds, again, also very specialized snoots. They draw comparisons to those with that. But, it would be really cool to own your own Spinosaurus skull. If you follow my account, you probably like dinosaurs, fossils, in the prehistoric world. And if you have ever shopped for fossils, you'll see that a lot of them have some very high prices, rightfully so, because they are usually one of a type specimen. Then you go look for casts, and you see a lot of these low quality casts going around, so you just don't know what to do. You either have to buy something super expensive or something super low quality. Enter dinosaur skeletons. Dinosaur skeletons specializes in creating museum quality replicas of prehistoric life and is renowned for its highly detailed reconstructions. Founded by a professional paleo artist with over a decade of experience in the collectibles industry, they are dedicated to providing enthusiasts, collectors, and institutions with the opportunity to own magnificent, lifelike prehistoric replicas. Each creation is crafted with exceptional care and attention to detail. This means they are highly accurate to their source material, super high quality, and museum grade level quality. This is probably the closest you could get to bringing home a museum exhibit. They're also fairly affordable for the accuracy and quality put into it, which also means they make great gifts for birthdays and holidays for that collector or dinosaur enthusiast you know. So go check out Dinosaur Skeletons and get your cast today. So yeah, I mean, it would also be cool to go see these things too. One more ad break. Huge shout out to today's sponsor, Dinosaur Trips. If you enjoy these majestic creatures I talk about here on the podcast and would like to go see them for yourself, I would heavily recommend Dinosaur Trips. Dinosaur Trips is a company created to give people a behind-the-scenes in-look on museums and dig sites, along with just having an amazing time looking at these amazing, fabulous, majestic creatures. So if you sound interested, go to www.dinosaurtrips.com and tell them Prehistoric Life sent you and get $250 off your tickets. Now, back to the show. Now, we're going to move on from the author's conclusion and what this paper is actually about. And we're going to deep dive into the Cristatusaurus Suchomimus debate. Because I know that's what you're all here for. I know that's what I'm going to probably put on the thumbnail. Because I know it'll get the clicks that I need. But why the Suchomimus debate isn't settled. So where does this leave our Suchomimus versus Cristatusaurus debate? In reality, the case is far from closed. While the similarities in the snout are fascinating, Cristatusaurus is still known from frustratingly incomplete fragmentary remains, sinking a highly celebrated, beautifully documented genus like Suchomimus based on a few overlapping measurements of a broken jaw isn't going to convince the wider scientific community overnight. As Dr. Brian Curtice brilliantly demonstrated, our digital models and artistic reconstructions of these holotypes still suffer from major scaling discrepancies and missing physical validation. So what scientists should do next? If we want the absolute truth, paleontologists need to step away from the digital screens and go back to the basics. Hands-on hard science. We need direct physical access to the actual holotype bones of Suchomimus and Cristatusaurus. We need side-by-side photographic documentation, cross-verified scale bars, and a unified consensus of postcranial proportions. Beyond that, the ultimate resolution still comes down to discovery. We need to find more complete Cristatusaurus material out in the field to see if the rest of the skeleton truly matches the magnificent beast we call Suchomimus. So my final thoughts. This paper is an incredible reminder that the world of paleontology is alive, dynamic, and constantly changing. Even when a study triggers a massive wave of online panic over the name of a favorite dinosaur, Brontosaurus, Saurophaganax, Suchomimus. Wow, that's weird. Who said that? Digging into the actual science reveals something far more profound than taxonomic bickering. it shows us the sorry there, brain fart, don't know what happened. It shows us the intricate living, breathing mechanics of these ancient titans. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Prehistoric Life Podcast. If you want to check out the fascinating scaling anomalies we discussed, make sure to watch Dr. Brian Curtice's excellent video over at the Fossil Crates channel. I'll even link right in the description below. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Are you team Suchomimus or Cristatusaurus? I'll also link the paper down below so you guys can all read that if that's what you want to do. I'll have a section where it's Dr. Brian Curtice's episode, and then like right under that will be the paper. You'll see it if you just go in the description. But until next time, keep looking at the earth, keep searching for the truth, and remember, keep it prehistoric. I've been your host, Eric Crawford. This has been the Prehistoric Life Podcast. Remember, keep it prehistoric, and goodbye.